Let's kick things off. So, welcome everybody to the fourth installment in our. Is this the fourth? Yeah, this is the fourth in our Leveling Up Your Trading series. I'm Charlie Bathgate. I'm the CEO of SangLucci.com and WallStreetJesus.com, and I am joined today by Joe. Or are we just going to say Joe? Are we giving a last name too, or?
I wouldn't mind. That's
Okay.
fine. Sure.
Joe George, the double first name. Joe, thanks for joining us today. Joe is a member of our community. He is a he's a current member of the Master Course, which we are certainly going to talk about. And one of the reasons why we asked Joe to come on is because every time we do a webinar series, we get feedback where people ask us, to bring on somebody from, especially someone from the community who's has a little bit has experience that is maybe a little more reflective of a lot of the people who, might be taking the course, or just people who are in the community. So, when we have Lucci on and Wall Street Jesus on and Ranchero, I mean, these guys have 20 years of experience. They're full time, and that's not. We certainly have people in the Master Course who satisfy that criteria, but we also have people who are working full time jobs. They might be, trading just a couple hours a week, that sort of thing. So, it helps to have the perspective of somebody who just comes from a different background, a different level of experience, a different walk of life, and, talk to them a little bit about their experience. So that's what we're here for right now. That's what we're going to discuss. And, Joe, let's just start out with kind of the basics. Do you want to give everybody, we'll start kind of pre-Master Course. Do you want to tell everybody like what your trading was like, the amount of time you were trading, kind of how you were approaching things? We'll start there and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And thanks, Charlie, for having me on. And thanks everybody for jumping on. For those of you who know me in the room, occasionally I'll talk about biotechs. I know we were talking about Pfizer today. So I live in the Boston area where there's a bunch of biotechs, and little ones usually have zero or no products. And I got into trading because I was working for one. I was there for 8 years, and you get retention options along the way. Every year that you stay, they give you a little more options. And our company, Ariad, was bought out by Takeda. So I got enough money to start a trading account on or about 2015 or 2016. And I wanted to do something with it because I'm older, right? Even though I kind of hope and pray Social Security will be there for me in 4 or 5 years when I'm eligible for early Social Security. I figured I don't need the money. I have that little, a little 401k. Maybe I'll learn what I can do. So by YouTube and their brilliant algorithm started to feed me the penny stocking people. And around 15 or 16, I started with them. And it took me a while to realize, that what a lot of people will tell you in trading and all the different rooms you go to is you got to find a place that's right for you, and you have to find a trading style that's right for you. And I stayed there a long time, and it took me a long time to figure out that it wasn't for me. I didn't really enjoy. There's a lot of young people in there, and they're really risky. A lot of them are shorting, and they try to get locates. I'm not good at getting up early and getting locates. Plus, I'm fighting them, and they have big accounts, and they have all the best brokers. Mm-hmm. And a lot of them, because I'm an older trader and because I'm from New England where we're conservative, I don't really need a McLaren. If you guys have a McLaren, good for you. Enjoy it. I have a couple children I want to put through college. I just want to develop a skill I can use as I get closer to retirement to supplement my retirement. But the good thing that came about the penny course was they sent me a bunch of DVDs, and Lucci was on there. And he must have been visiting their conference several years in a row because there was several different DVDs of several years in a row. And then, so I decided to join the Steam Room. I joined when, I got some stuff from Wall Street Jesus where you could join for a month or something for free. And then I had an incredible opportunity. Lucci was going to be at WeWork in Boston, near where I worked at the biotech. So I went over and met him. I'm sure he doesn't remember. It was only for like 5 minutes, and it was a crowded event. But that really, solidified in me, and that's a better place for me. I remember Lucci even did a video in Puerto Rico where he was driving a Honda, so you can see, no McLaren. Right. So that's really what hooked me. I wasn't too upset that I left the penny world because they showed me Lucci and options and a different way of trading. And I felt like there's a much better edge here for me. They trade the way I trade, and it seems like I've been doing better. And that was about a year and a half ago that I joined and then got into 2 different master courses. So
Right. Okay. And so then so you're saying really what kind of what drew you into learning from Lucci and everything was just things seem a little more down to earth, a little more real, a little more realistic than a lot of what was going on in some of the penny stock world.
yeah, they're not, the guys that I see in the room that I, watch carefully, they're not gunslingers. That's what was, it seemed like what the penny people were doing is just going after everything that moved at pre-market. And I'm sure they think they have an edge and they do well, but I didn't see an edge. It was only when I saw how people like Wall Street Jesus and Ranch and Option Trader 8 and people in the room and even Paulo, how you're using a lot more, smart indicators about flow and orders and what's on the bid and what's on the ask to make decisions. And I didn't see a lot of that. It's not like they really wanted to teach anything. I don't think they taught anything like that.
Right.
And so I obviously struggled. I bled down, small, low, 5 figures, 15,000, 20,000 there. You make a little back, but the whole concept of where people say, and they throw it around a lot, achieving consistency, whatever it means to people, whatever it meant to me, I wasn't getting it there. And I definitely started to get it here in the year and a half and have made very, very good strides in that year and a half. So.
Mm-hmm. Got you. Okay, so this whole series is the leveling up your trading series, right? So it's all about how you can kind of like take things to the next level. So let's start with, what do you feel like? Well, I mean, when we were talking, kind of preparing for this last week, you mentioned something where you said it was kind of like an iceberg effect, right? Where you said you felt like you could see the tip of the iceberg and then you joined the master course and you saw
That's
the whole
right.
thing. Like, can you unpack that a little bit?
Yeah, because when I first started trading and until I got involved with the Sang Lucci people, that's all I couldn't see below the iceberg. I mean, below the waterline. You only catch the noise, you catch the Twitter, you catch the gunslingers in the room, who are just buying stuff that's moving and getting in and out of it, and there's no rhyme or reason. And to me, at least, I couldn't see a rhyme or reason to what they were doing. But when I got in the room, I got way more skills. A couple of them that I just mentioned was, the ability to use flow, to really read the bid and the ask, watch the other people in the room who bring more intelligence to trading, and more edge. And that helped me, it's almost a coincidence that in the last 5 or 6 months, since I learned to slow down my trading, take better trades from watching Ranch and Option Trader 8 and those guys, take less trades, take higher odds trades, which I got that. Those were the things below the waterline, the changes that I had to make, in addition to the psychology. And that is that, below the waterline was I don't have to trade every day. As long as I make good trades, my account will grow. And I don't have to make 6 figures a month, every month for the rest of my life. I've never made 6 figures a month, but when I get to retirement, I don't need to either. I just need
Right.
to supplement my retirement account and make good trades. And those are the things that in the last 6 months it was only 6 months ago that I started myself to level up, even before I saw that you brought the name of the series on, and I started to do better. And it's only when I felt comfortable having all those other skills under my belt, that I could put more money on the table. And even when I had losses, which you still have losses, at least I do, they didn't wipe me out. They didn't ding my psyche. They didn't make me not want to come and turn on the monitor in the morning. And my account began to grow and grow more quickly. I just kind of went flatline for the first year and a half and down a little. And now when I trade, I do well and I'm growing my account. And it's all because those things I learned that aren't the bad habits, in the room, in the master course.
Yeah. So let's dig in a little bit to the psychology of it, because obviously that's where I love to go. I'm the psychology guy. So when you say, slowing down your trading was a really big part of what helped you. That was a big part of the changes that you made to kind of take things to the next level. Why do you think that? Why do you think you felt a pressure to trade quickly? I guess, like, where do you think that was coming from in your trading to put on more trades than you think you needed to?
I mean, I think even before I became a trader, you know, because I remember I remember when you couldn't get a book delivered to your house because I'm a little older. I remember when, you didn't have 800 drive-throughs 1 minute from your house. And I think we all kind of got caught up in this, I can have it now, I can have it tomorrow philosophy since probably, all that stuff started to come out. And then there's the internet, which brings you all these images and these short things into your life, and you think that you can do it, and it's really a hard thing to battle, I think, because we all grew up, we all kind of changed in this time. I mean, I can't get my kids to play a record album because, they can play 4,000 phones on their 4,000 songs on their phone. So I had to battle that as a general person, and then as a trader, you do see all these people who have these fancy cars, and they all have big accounts, and you can just nod your head and say, well, everybody's journey is going to be different. And whether I get there the slow road, the tortoise or the hare story, I'll get there. So that was a big part of it. And then somebody else in the room threw out the word patience one day, which is a word we all hear, and I think a lot of us ignore. And I just had to learn to be patient. I just had to learn to breathe. I never got into the meditation that some of the people talk. And I'm a bit of a, New England skeptic from that sense, but I just knew that if I was going to be successful, I was going to have to breathe, and I was going to have to take it easy and say that I'm going to get there. I have a long-term account like a lot of people, and I did notice that sometimes if you just leave things alone, they work out. So I do have a long-term account too.
Right.
That can teach people patience. If someone's starting out today, I think that's what my advice would be, is have a long-term account also, because sometimes you leave things alone and they work, not
Right.
always, but it's a battle every day. It's hand-to-hand combat every day with yourself, I think, in the trenches. At least with me it is, because you pretty much can have anything brought to your door as quickly as you want. I even bought my wife a car over the internet, so there you go.
You can have anything brought to your door that you want, except for just a pile of trading profits. It's just
Knowledge.
not,
Knowledge.
yeah. It's just not that easy. Okay, so you felt like the master courses allowed you to kind of slow down a little bit. I mean, what was it? Was the skill sets that you developed that gave you more confidence that you were going to be able to do this? You didn't have to make it happen overnight, or I mean, what is it that kind of helped you turn that corner to say, you know what, I just got to slow down?
Yeah, if I had to rank, the most things that affected me the most, the first thing would be the different varieties of people that are in the room,
Okay.
and plus there's at least 2 or 3 people in the master course that have either worked in brokerage houses or on the floor or directly for market makers in the industry. And I didn't have that anywhere else. And that's really important, because they'll tell you there's people on the other side, really bright people, and they're just waiting. A lot of time they're just waiting to take your money. They know there's going to be another trade tomorrow. They know there's going to be another day, and they teach you, wait. You might end up getting out early, you might get in late, but you might be green, or you might avoid stepping on something, a bomb, and blowing yourself up. So that's the first thing, is the breadth of the people that are in there. And then, when you see Lucci, when he comes on live and he shows you how he interprets the tape and what he's seeing, and that's really important to see that live, because you got your own monitor on and you got your own things that you're going through that day. So that's a big part of it. And then, even though they don't use the word, I use the word compartmentalizing. They do talk a lot about what else is going on in your life, with 3 children here, a dog, 2 cats, and my wife, everything going on. You come here to sit down, you better be prepared, to fight for your lunch, because if you're not prepared, you're not going to do well. And don't play when you're not prepared. Maybe it's the same as being a pro athlete. I've never been a pro athlete, but so those things in a package is everything that got me when I said below the iceberg, that got me to say, I'm going to trade when I have an edge. I'm going to trade when my patterns come up. I'm not going to trade unless the tape tells me I can trade. And that's how, I've begun to turn the corner, and it feels a lot better, than when I used to do it the other way, because I didn't know what my future was when I did the other way. I thought I was just going to be flat or down a little for my whole life. And then why do it?
Right.
If that's the case.
Yeah, you're just banging your head against a wall at that point.
Right.
Yeah, that's not worth it.
So those were the things that hit me,
yeah,
and helped me.
So reading tape, I mean, Some people come from the master course and they are dedicated and they're like, listen, I'm going to learn to retape. I'm going to do this. Some people pull out a ton of benefit from it, but they say, tape is so, it's so intense. Sometimes it's so difficult to do that they wait a little while to dive into that. How was learning to retape for you? And talk to us a little bit about that, that sort of journey, because it's something that not a lot of people teach.
Yeah, well, what was key for me was watching the same tickers over and over again through multiple quarters and multiple cycles. And then it's almost like you have a prey. Maybe you hunt deer, maybe you hunt something else. And I could tell you, I know right away, Apple, Tesla, Nvidia, AMD, I know right away when something strange is on the tape, whether it's going up or down big. Now, there's a few narrow tickers, right? I can't master them all. You can't hunt everything out there on the field.
Right.
But I can tell right away now. It's crazy, and but it doesn't happen much, right? You have to wait. You have to
Yeah.
wait it out. And sometimes it turns on you, and there's other things that I have to take into consideration, like the general market, or if it's Nvidia today that came down hot, it's a general what are semis doing and why are they doing it today? But I look at it some days and I'm like, I'm not going to trade Apple today because the tape isn't moving. I can literally, it took a long time, but I can see it moving faster, and you can almost, I know this is crazy, you can almost see the fear and the euphoria coming right off the screen, which is silly because it's just a screen. But you
No,
get
but that
days
makes
like that.
Dude, that
And
makes total sense. I mean, you're using
yeah,
language that is exactly the way that Lucci talks about it, like
it,
stalking names and
right.
feeling the emotion, like really being plugged into the emotion of the market. That's exactly the way that Lucci phrases that
When
stuff.
I was a bad trader, I was like my 11-year-old in Toys R Us running around and grabbing everything. And it was only when I would watch the tickers that I wanted to watch that I knew that I did better. I couldn't watch them all, which is why I don't trade a lot, because they don't all move all the time.
Right. Right.
But I learned the ones that I watch. Like I can't trade energy for some reason. I just can't. And I can't trade some of the hotels and the airlines, but I seem to trade technology real well because I watch it and I know it. Um, and it's commitment of putting that time in. When I was changing tickers all the time, I showed you the other day, I only have 4 screens on this monitor, or 4 divisions. And when I was chasing everything, obviously I was losing. I was making bad trades. It's just I
Mhm.
was just generating money for somebody else in commissions.
Right.
You
Right.
know,
Right. You were just churning and yeah, totally.
right?
Got it. Okay. What about, I mean, a lot of the impact, everyone comes through the course and something different resonates with them, right? For some people, it's, short-term options trading. They're going, super hardcore. They want to be, churning a lot, or they're trading more aggressively on intraday basis. Some people come out and they look at more of Ranchero's perspective of thinking on a longer time frame, much more risk adjusted. What was trading the post something, was Ranchero's methodology something that impacted you, or how did you sort of assimilate all of the different things that you learned?
Well, before I got into that, I was watching people write one or both ends when premium was high. Because the first thing I learned is when one of my favorite tickers that I was watching, and maybe 8 months ago, if I was going to buy an Apple call that was $3 out of the money at the end of the week, it was $1.50, and then when the volatility went crazy, it was $3. And of course, I made so many mistakes where I bought that $3 call and it turned around on me and it bled right out. I tried to hold it overnight or through a weekend, and I had 90% loss on that position by Monday morning. So it wasn't until I saw how people could write at those times that I wanted to get involved with trading the post. And I did get in there for a while, and I do want to return to getting in there.
Okay.
And I like that because it plays into what I wanted to do with my long-term account. I always wanted to have a long-term account because I saw what he did, with Boeing and with Biogen IDEC when he did it. I know today it would be a different story, but when he did it well with them. So I do like that stuff because I want to keep that long-term perspective. I trade in my short-term trading account. I'm overnight, maybe not through the weekend much, day trader now in that other account because as somebody who is close to retirement, you get a better return. I mean, I'm not going to buy 100 shares of a $44 stock and it's going to move a buck when I can play with the calls,
Right.
or the puts, whatever it might be.
Right.
So I like to do both, but I treat trading the post more so as how I treat my long-term account. And I had to learn how to write first, write
Right.
against that long position. And that takes time because it's scary, even though I don't write naked. it's just a little scary
Yeah.
when I was learning, at least for me. Yeah,
Yeah.
because you
As it
can't
should
get
be.
the first thing your brokers will let you do is buy a call. You can't really get in a lot of trouble with it, right?
Right.
But
Right.
if you're not careful, and I never have gotten in trouble. I think one time I did wind up with United Health by accident. It kind of hit the trigger, and I had to buy it.
It
So
happens. It
yeah, it
happens.
happened. I got away
Um,
with it.
but I mean, that's one of the reasons why, Ranchero and Lucci and these guys are so good, is because they don't sugarcoat it. I mean, they will put the fear in you that needs to be there, and they'll tell you, if you fuck up writing like this, you fuck up with these approaches, like you can get your face ripped off, and they're not here to, they're not there to blow smoke up anybody's ass. So it sounds like that approach, that like candor, resonated with you to a certain degree.
Yeah, and I think that I'm lucky in that sense that even when I was doing the pennies, I was just buying equity. I wasn't shorting much. And then I learned to buy calls and buy puts. And I did that for well over a year, close to a year and a little bit more. And but I wanted to learn to write because I noticed when premium was really fat, I wasn't paying attention to earnings coming up or something, or just everybody, used to be able to get Tesla calls for a decent price. Now they're $40, right?
Right.
Times
Right.
100.
Right.
So you have to learn to say, well, if Tesla goes down, I can sell that. If my account has the right, setup, I can sell that, maybe get, $8, $9, $10 out of that as it bleeds out. So, um, and I kind of went in order that way, buy and then sell and then learn trading the post. And that's what helped me because I could get confused, too
Yeah.
quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a lot. Talk to us a little bit about how you manage a work-life balance. I mean, you just got, yet another job you said, which is you're like global head of something. I remember global
Yeah.
head is in the
Yeah.
title. So
IT
like,
services. Yeah.
yeah. So, I mean, you're working full-time job, but you're also trading. I mean, how have you been able to find the balance in those worlds? Because that's something that a lot of people who come to the course, they're doing that, they're balancing that, and that's a concern of theirs. So speak a little bit to how you've been able
And
to navigate.
and it's been a lot different since we've been allowed to work from home more. I was always allowed to work from home as an IT resource in biotechs, particularly because they understood that Cambridge and Boston, the traffic was really bad. When I first started doing it, I would bring my own laptop to work and try to find a conference room or what they call a telephone huddle room and run in there and
Hmm.
catch the open and make some trades.
Right.
And sadly, you have to sell on your phone sometimes and try not to set up something that I couldn't watch. And I made it work. I couldn't trade every day, but I continued to learn. Starting in March, they said don't come to work at all. So I'm home all the time. And once again, I have my own laptop and my own monitor. I try to manage my calendar so I'm there for the open and there for the close. And if I can turn off my monitor, turn off my Zoom camera when
Right.
someone's in a meeting, I can trade.
Right.
I don't set stop losses, mechanical ones. I get myself in and out of trades. It's just the way I like to do it.
Right.
So I feel awful that, we got into this COVID thing. It's kind of been good for my trading because I can be here all the time. The
Hmm.
other key, the other key that I used to do, if it helps anybody, is I used to do a lot of my work on Sunday nights for my regular job and
Mm.
email it off on Sunday night or Monday morning before 8:30, give people time to look at it, and they wouldn't bother me till about 11. So
Right.
I
Right.
had some time. So I work a lot on the weekends, but I would come up here, any Sunday, if you drove by my house, you'd see at 4 o'clock, I'm coming in, I'm getting ready to watch Jesus's 6 p.m. one, but I'm doing my work from 4 to 6. It's kind of like my thing because I
Yeah.
don't want to be bothered Monday morning.
Yeah.
So that's kind of helped, but it can be done. The only thing I never wanted to do was set stop losses or get in something if I knew I was going to be in meetings all day and I couldn't get out of it.
Yeah.
Um, I just got lucky, but I learned a lot slower when I used to have to go to the office because I never wanted to get caught, you
Yep.
know,
That makes
um,
sense. So
or make a bad trade.
got to get ahead of it. You're saying, really just getting ahead of the work week. It sounds like was a good way to kind of set
Yeah,
yourself up for some
if
foundation.
if you can, Saturdays and Sundays, put a little time in, and then just drop it on somebody's lap, so I know they can't get to it until it's time, and then they
Right.
get some time. And
Right.
you can block out your calendar if you can get away with it. It all depends on who you work for and how far you want to push things. But it
Right.
slowed me down when I used to go to the office because you're limited to what you can do with other
Yeah,
people around.
for
So
sure. Yeah, I mean, there's been such an explosion in trading since COVID started, and we've had a lot of people who, yeah, we've seen their trading definitely get taken to the next level as a result of having just much more time. And
It's helped me tremendously. Like any
yeah,
skill,
yeah,
you're learning a new sport, whatever, time, it helps. So
yeah. What I mean, so you've got the first master course you joined was a year ago, right?
last fall it would have been
Last fall.
last
Okay.
fall
So and then you came to the session that we had earlier this
in the
year because
winter,
you
I
get,
think. Yeah,
yeah, because you get, for anybody who doesn't know, you get lifetime access. So you can keep coming back to as many classes as you want, as many sessions as you want over and over. Um, I assume that you'll probably be jumping in on some of the classes for this one that starts on November 16th. I mean,
that's right.
is there something that you have said, all right, this time around, I got this tape thing. I got, I understand writing. Like you've really built out your sort of your arsenal, your trading repertoire. Is there something else that you've got your sights set on that you want to learn coming out of this one, or is it more sort of reinforcement of the skills that you've already learned? How are you thinking about that?
Yeah, I'm viewing it as reinforcement of everything I've learned. I have this, saying in the back of my mind, the second time you see a movie, a Hollywood movie, you see things you didn't see before.
Hmm.
And I never want to fall into the trap that I think I have any one of these 5, 6, 7, or 8 things down really well, and I can just focus on the last 3. So I hope to just dive deeper in every area, become a better tape reader, become better with my patience and my psychology, choose my sizing better. Um, discover more about trading the post. So I don't think I'm done digging deep in any of the sort of pillars or the verticals, the
Right.
silos that
Right.
that come with it, because like anything, if you're an athlete or a musician or whatever, you just got to keep getting better. You got
Right.
to keep broadening and deepening the skills that you have. I guess the market's going to change too. Like I was telling you when we were first speaking, it's dangerous to come of age buying tech options when everything's going up, or calls, of
Right.
course,
Right.
because
Right.
you
Right.
think that you get good and you're not really good. You're just caught up in an upswell, which we have been, except for the maybe March and a couple of things in December of 2017 or 18.
Right.
And you don't want to, I don't want to think that I can only trade that market. And that's the way it was for a long time.
Right.
I want to be able to trade a lot of different markets in situations, and they can
Yeah.
run a long time, I'm guessing. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
the bull market can run for 10 years, I guess. Other markets can run for years. So,
Indeed. Indeed. Yeah. I mean, that makes total sense. You want to be prepared. You don't want to be caught flat footed, no matter what happens in the markets, you want to be ready for it. So um, that makes total sense.
and
Uh,
what Jay says a lot resonates in my mind too. I mean, I'm not just trying to short tops and buy bottoms. I'm still trying to discover what am I going to be really good at, and what kind of trader do I want to be? Am I developing into?
mhm.
So I don't want to join it because I thought today I could have bought the pre-market, ran up till 9:30 and shorted everything. That's not really what I can do or I want to do. I just want to recognize maybe when I should get out of those longs because things are turning, and maybe I could sell some premium. But
Yeah.
I'm kind of a long trader, really, in general. I guess might be
Is
bias. I guess.
is that I mean, do you feel more comfortable with that sort of identity as a trader now that you've been through the course? Because that's something that people often report is they emerge from it and they're like, you know what? I used to think that I had to be a certain way, but I've just realized like it's okay to have, a certain strength, and which isn't to say that I don't want to be prepared for anything, but I get who I am now. I embrace who I am, and that's just what I do. So do you feel
Well,
more comfortable with that?
I do, and I'll tell you what. What really drove it home was watching an equity or a ticker or an event for one day, and watching somebody go long and then Paulo come in and short it in the same day. And
Right.
there's a trade for everybody, right? You don't, it's not like you go up to the ice cream truck and they're not going to have ice cream that you like. I mean, there is really a trade out there for everybody every day. If you're a long trader, even when everything is down, you can usually find something to trade if like what I said, if it's one of your tickers that you watch.
Right.
So it's remarkable to see that, because then you say to yourself, I don't have to take any more bad trades, or I don't have to short something. I don't want to short because everybody is shorting. I'll just wait. Maybe it'll bounce. But it's amazing how many times I see 3 or 4 different people make money on both sides of the same ticker or the same ETF in the same day or overnight. It happens a lot. Just go back and read, all the lines in the
Yeah.
room,
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, that's an incredible point. It's
Yeah.
extremely liberating for people to know when that reality sets in. It's like, oh yeah, it doesn't have to be just one. There's not just one
Right.
way to do this. I can do this.
Yeah.
There's however many ways to skin a cat. Yeah, whatever the saying is. I can do this in as many ways as I want. And some days, Jesus will be leaning one way and Lucci will be taking another direction and
Right.
Ranchero's doing something else. And it's like, these guys are pros and they're all making money on it. It's just
Yep.
time frames and the instruments that they're trading. And, yeah, so things can go in a lot of different directions. Yeah.
And you can say I'm a long bias trader and not worry that you're going to run into a bear situation for days or weeks on end.
Right.
It's remarkable to see that. It really is.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I want to give also some, an opportunity for some people to ask any questions that you guys have, and for Joe or for me about the master course that we have coming up. I can do a quick rundown here of what's going on in the master course coming up, just so people who don't know as much about it can get an idea. So the next master course starts on November 16th, which is a week from today. And basically, guys, even though it says on this page, if you want to learn more about it, just go to sanglucci.com/MC, and that'll redirect you into our 3LT playbook, which is where the product page for the master course is. It'll tell you everything that you need to know about, what you're going to learn from these guys, who you're going to learn from. And one thing that we haven't added in here, because this is all sort of new recent additions. Basically, if you looked at the page, it would say 12 live classes, 4 live tape reading sessions. That's still all true. That's like these 12 live classes are the core of the master course curriculum taught by Lucci and Ranchero. The 4 live tape reading sessions, that's you watching Lucci's screens while he trades live, live market hours. Joe talked a little bit about the impact of that earlier in the webinar. That's definitely one of the favorites that people have. But there are another 8 classes that are not included in this. There's 2 more classes that are on trading psychology that I teach along with Chris Cady. Did a webinar with him last week or maybe 2 weeks ago. You guys can see it on our YouTube page. We have 2 classes on Ranchero's trading the post methodology, which is his strategy that's really using leaps, long-term options plays to establish a position and then trading in the short term around those positions. It's been extremely successful for this year, and for a lot of people who want to have a much more procedural, process-oriented approach. That's been great for those people. Then we're gonna have 2 classes taught by Wall Street Jesus himself about flow trading. He hasn't taught a live class with the master course in a really long time. And we're going to have those in there. And then we got another 2 classes that are going to be taught by Chris Cady, which are not going to be trading psychology oriented. These are new. These are about market profiling and how he segments data in his trading. We got a lot of requests for his perspective on that. So we're going to get in there. We're going to get him in there. So which is all to say, it's a shitload. It's a ton of content. It's a ton of information. And to be honest, you are not going to be able to find access to people of this caliber, of this level of experience, who have the mastery of the skill sets of what these guys can do anywhere outside of a prop firm. That's just the truth of it. There's, it's over 100 years of experience between all 4 of these guys trading, and that's just extremely hard to find these days. So as I said before, you get lifetime access. Once you're a member, you get you're a member for the rest of your life. So you can always access the recordings. You can access you come back to the live sessions as well. As Joe was also talking about, you get access to the community. So you get 2 free months in the Steam room. I mean, that means that you are in there watching some of the top traders that we have, not even just Wall Street Jesus and Lucci, but other guys, names who anyone who's a member will recognize, and watching how they approach and, take on the markets on a day-to-day basis. You can learn a ton from just sitting in there and watching, or actively participating if that's what you feel called to do. And I think that there's Actually, Joe, I'd be interested to hear from you about what you feel like. Did you get a sense for, I mean, how much did you get a sense for what other people, the journeys of other members in the course? Because a lot of people say, it was really amazing to hear somebody else's story, and that made me realize, hey, I'm not alone out there. I'm not the only one who struggles with that. I mean, did you have that experience as well?
Yeah, particularly because I went through the course twice, so I got to see and type back and forth in the chat with people that were doing both sessions,
Yeah.
so I did get a lot of that. Plus, the different rooms that we have when you're not in the master course, the different rooms where you can go, where there's questions that are off topic that aren't for the live rooms. I meet a lot of people there and talk to a lot of people there. So yeah, I did get that. And that is really important. I think that's important in any area of life, even when you're not learning a trade, moving to a new town or something, or starting a new job. You kind of want to connect with people that are at the same level as you, to get that value of learning what they went through, and maybe helping them a little bit, to see what they're going to go through. So yeah, I got a lot of that, and it helps. It really does. Yeah.
Got you. Yeah. I mean, we get people ask us, hey, is this course for beginners? Is this course for, professionals and stuff? And the truth is we get people from all walks of life. You guys heard Joe's story. He definitely had, a decent bit of trading experience under his belt, a couple of years, but he was also coming more from a penny stock background. And, he wasn't, well-versed in the types of names and stuff that we do. We get people who are like, hey, I've been in this for 2 months and I realized I know nothing and I need to go, I need to really figure out what I'm doing. I want to invest from the beginning. And then we get people who are pros who've been doing this for 15 or 20 years and they have, they're independently successful and they're doing this and they say, I've been meaning to add another perspective on options to how I'm looking at things, or I want to learn tape. I've never learned tape. I want to, want to learn it from Lucci, and they're just kind of looking to add something to their arsenal. So, people come from all walks of life, and come to the course, and that's something that that we facilitate that everybody should be aware of. So what I'll return here just to this page one more time. Again, the master course starts on the 16th. If you guys want to learn more about what you're going to learn in there, you can come to this page, sanglucci.com/MC, and you'll learn all about what we've got to offer. And we are offering a coupon right now. It'll get you $250 off. So that coupon code is SLMC 250 off. I'll drop that in the chat. SLMC 250 off. That'll be open until a week from today when we start the course, November 16th. So if you guys want to get in, save yourself $250, highly suggest you do that. There's payment plan options. You can pay it all at one time. We really try to do what we can to make sure this is accessible to as many people as possible. So we encourage you guys to hop in there. Let's get a couple questions out of the chat. If you guys have questions for Joe again, or for me about the course, or just anything that we do, feel free to drop them in there. Joseph is asking, are you taught specific strategies in the master course, or more along the lines of how to consume information? That's a great question. It's both. I mean, we really approach things from sort of a ground up perspective, right? So you're going to learn how the markets work. You're going to understand why things move the way they do. We really try to be, as comprehensive as possible, so that, we're not just teaching you one specific strategy and you don't understand why that works, and you don't understand how to adapt in case, when the market changes, when a new market regime begins, you're caught flat-footed. You don't really know how to adapt. We're teaching you from the ground up. Having said that, we also teach you specific strategies. I mean, you could argue that trading the post is really a specific strategy. That's a specific way to approach the markets and do things. We teach you Lucci's options writing strategy, which is much more niche and specific. So you're definitely going to pull some specific strategies when you come out of it. But you shouldn't think of this as like, all right, I'm just going to learn how this one guy trades and that's it. It's a much more holistic education than that. Joe, would you say that's along the lines of your experience?
Yeah, I thought it was interesting, the order of topics in the question is, do you learn trades, and then you talked about the information. I see it the other way around. You get the information in this, you can decide what you want to do. You do nothing. You can write options, you can sell options, you can do a spread, you can do a TTP. So that's what I liked about it, is you're going to get a lot of good information that you have a lot of things you can do. I'm not going to use the word options. You have a lot of choices, on
Totally.
what you can do with that information, because it works on both ends and anything that you want to do in most cases. So yeah,
Right.
that's a good question.
Got you. We got another one. How is the course tailored to absolute beginners? That's a great question. So one of the things that you get is you get access to our Introduction to Options course, which is our basic course that teaches you just the fundamentals of options. What's a put, what's a call, Lucci's approach to options pricing, which is kind of a simplified version of that. And that's like, if you're coming in and you don't know anything, you start there, and it's a pretty quick course. It's like, let's see, I think it's about 5 hour and a half long classes, but it definitely lays the foundation for what you need to know as a beginner. And then the other thing that we do is we give a lot of access to our team. So it's not just these guys who are teaching. We have a whole staff, within Sang Lucci and Wall Street Jesus, and there's a lot of guys, within our company who are there to just answer questions, no matter how simple or complex they are. That's, if you're a member of the master course, we're going to make sure you get an answer to that. And then the last thing I would say is the lifetime access. That's huge, because it means that you can keep coming back as many times as you want, over and over. And we have people who, started a couple years ago and they were true beginners, and now they hit us up and they're like, hey, I quit my job a couple years ago and I'm trading full time, and I'm doing it, and they just keep coming back to the master course because they want to keep learning. So, but if you're a true beginner, I would certainly don't be intimidated by it. You're going to have a steeper learning curve than people have been doing it for a couple years, but it's, we have true beginners every single session who come in. So, all right. Well, I'm not seeing any more questions from anybody. So, Joe, is there anything else you feel like you didn't get to say, or anything else you feel like people need to know about just your journey, or your experience in the course, or anything?
Well, what I would say is, I mean, if your journey is typical like mine was, you do face times when you want to stop and you want to quit. And that kind of ties into something that you said about beginners. One of the things I notice about the room is, I always try to notice if I join something new, or if people join and they're not there anymore, I don't recognize their names. And that doesn't happen. I see all the people that I've been seeing for a long time. And I think that supports what you said about, there's beginners and they learn and they stay, like I did, because it can get challenging, and at times you will see a couple of days in the market where you're like, oh, if it's going to keep doing this, it's going to be hard. So
Right.
that's the only thing I would add is, stay in the game. And when I was talking to you about how when I tried to, what we didn't talk about is when I did try to size up when I wasn't ready, before I
Mm,
could learn all those other things, it was really painful, because it will make you want to take a lot of time off.
yeah.
So, learn and get the skills, and don't do it too early. And I've seen all the old names I've seen in the room for a while, which I like. I don't like anybody. We don't like to see people join and leave,
Right.
and
Yeah.
you can learn here and you can stay.
Well said. I mean, yeah, that's something that we really pride ourselves on, is trying to make sure that there are other communities out there that are much more sort of churn and burn, and they're just trying to get new people in
Yeah,
there all the time. And which we're much more about quality over
that's all
quantity.
it
So
is.
yeah. So so I'm really glad that you've had that experience, man. Um, well, thank you,
Thank
Joe,
you.
for taking the time. I mean, I know you got a ton going on, so I appreciate you being willing to
That's
hop
okay.
on and talk about your experience, and and share a little bit about what your experience has been like. So thank you for being here.
Hey,
And
no worries. Thank you for having me. Thanks everybody for hanging out.
yeah, and for everybody else, we will see you guys on Thursday, capping off our series with Lucci and I, talking about his experiences of leveling up his trading. I know you guys some of you saw that announcement he made in his P&L review. I think it was in September, where he was saying, it's really time for me to level up my trading, and we're going to be digging deep into what that actually means for him. So that'll be a good one. All right, guys, thank you for being here, Joe. Really appreciate it, man.
Thank you.
Talk
My
soon.
pleasure.